if they pass on Deshaun Watson, they're passing on Michael Jordan. I mean, I'm just telling you. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. I'm just an old funky college coach, but Deshaun Watson is the best by a long shot.
He is a champion coach. Clemson coach Dabo Swinney gave the ultimate endorsement Tuesday to Deshaun Watson, comparing him to his airness. Watson is one of the most highly debated draft prospects early in this year's evaluation, but draft analysts aren't sold just yet. ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. said he has Watson rated at his number 36 prospect overall, projected to go number 10 in his first mock draft. Damian Woody back with us. How we doing?
Good, good.
We are going to pick up with you, Max. Is Watson worth the number 1 overall pick?
No, he's not. Mainly because the Cleveland Browns and the San Francisco 49ers, the worst teams, like the top of this draft, have a lot of holes to fill. And Watson is excellent, but he's not plug and play like Cam or Andrew Luck in the sense that, look, he throws picks. He had the benefit of great receivers on that team and all that. Now, I do think he has these special kind of winning qualities that don't come along all the time. And that means, unlike a lot of people I see him going in the second and third round, if I had a first-round pick late in the first round and I needed a quarterback, I would draft Deshaun Watson. But the Cleveland Browns, for example, need a lot more than him, and I don't know he's a guarantee. I don't think, as Dabo Swinney obviously does, that this is like that famous Bobby Knight story where the Portland GM calls Bobby Knight because Jordan had played for Bobby Knight and said, what do you think? And he said, draft Jordan. And he said, yeah, but we don't need a guard. We got Clyde Drexler. And Bobby Knight said, we need a center. He said, draft Jordan, play him at center. In other words, just draft Jordan. I don't think Deshaun Watson is that kind of player, but I do like the intangibles and some of the tangibles, and later in the first round's okay.
Well, for me, listen, I disagree with the comparison to Jordan because I think basketball players have a different impact than maybe a football player like LeBron. The way LeBron has an impact on a team is different than maybe a quarterback who's more dependent on the parts around him. But I understand where he's coming from, because if we're going to go off of what NFL people tend to say, what they tend to measure about prospects, then how can you argue with these things? You're talking about a guy who graduated in 3 years, clean as a whistle off the field, who went 32-3 as a starter, in collegiate football, who absolutely shredded the gold standard that is the Alabama Crimson Tide football team. I mean, you're talking about a guy who went 1-1, but Alabama had no answer for Deshaun Watson. I mean, you're talking about, the Alabama defense going up against basically, one guy who just took over both games.
Especially when they needed it most, when it mattered most, Deshaun Watson showed up.
Absolutely. And I know we're going to get caught, the part of the problem with the NFL process, we get caught up in measurables and size, and I'm alluding to, like, you brought up Cam Newton. Cam Newton was nowhere near a finished product. He's still not a finished product right now. But his size and all the physical attributes, that's what was, so attractive for NFL franchise. But if you want the intangibles, and we know the Cleveland Browns, they absolutely need a quarterback. And I think part of the problem is they might have apprehension because they've drafted a quarterback in the first round twice in the past 5 years. Now, I know it's a different regime, but you might have some pause about that. But this guy has been the guy in college football. There's no question about it. I don't care what talent that you put up there with him. He's been the absolute best at the premium position in college football.
I'm going to roll with Damian on this one. I would take Deshaun Watson number 1 overall. And I got a lot of love for Dabo Swinney. But here's the deal. Deshaun Watson went up against an Alabama defense that was considered the creme de la creme for the last 2 years and absolutely annihilated them. I mean, this dude in 2 games against Alabama, both on the national championship stage, threw for over 850 yards, 878 yards, actually. I think the exact number was actually 898 yards when you combine the two. 478 one game, 420 the other game. And we're not even talking about what he did with his feet. He finds a way to make things happen. But where Dabo Swinney really convinces me to side with him, not about the Jordan comparison, because there's no comparison there, but where he gets me to side with him when it comes to Deshaun Watson's value, he speaks about his leadership and he speaks about his character. That stuff matters in today's NFL when you're talking about building a franchise. Let's take, for example, guys, the Jared Goff, Carson Wentz analogy. With the Los Angeles Rams, we don't know where the hell they're going. We don't know what kind of franchise they're going to have. We don't know anything. We don't know that much about Philadelphia either. But you know what we do know about Philadelphia? They got a quarterback to build around because Carson Wentz could play. Ain't nobody questioning that. And so when you look at having to secure that prime position, which is the quarterback position for an NFL team, it just seems to make things considerably easier to add the parts around it in order for you to be effective, as opposed to having the other parts but not having a quarterback.
I agree with that. But when you're talking about #1 overall, you better hit. It better be sure thing. Like if it's Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck or someone like that, okay, I get it. But you think about the great quarterbacks around the league, Tom Brady, a late round, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott. These are great young, Brady's not young, but the others are great young quarterbacks. They weren't taken in anywhere near the first round. Or even think of guys who were taken in the first round, but not right away. Aaron Rodgers, or guys who were taken high up, but not #1 overall. Derek Carr. You have many more examples of guys who weren't drafted 1 overall who succeeded at quarterback than vice versa. And when you have a lot of holes to fill, fine. You want to spend the #1 pick on the quarterback? Fine. You better be 100% certain. And the thing about Deshaun Watson is I love the intangibles and some of the tangibles, but he does not strike me as Peyton Manning. You know, he does not strike me as a guy like, you cannot go wrong here no matter what. So the #1 overall pick, no. Later in the first round, sure.
Well, Max, here's my thing. I mean, how many can't-miss prospects do you see coming off the down the pike? I mean, we talking about Peyton Manning. You're talking about a Hall of Fame quarterback here. Listen, there's no guarantee that you're going to hit on that #1 overall pick. I'll ask you this: would you put Deshaun Watson in the same category as Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota? I mean, judging off his resume,
yes, because
off his resume, he's right there along with those guys.
Because of the intangibles, yes. But in terms of what I actually saw from consistent quarterback play, maybe a half step below those guys, to be honest. Projecting forward into the NFL.
I wouldn't put him.
Max, hold on. Alabama.
Hold on, Damien, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. I would not put Jameis Winston's resume in college ahead of Deshaun Watson.
We're not talking about college. We're talking about projecting how they'll do in the NFL.
All right. No. I'm only bringing that up because of the question that Damien asked you. The point is he asked you, if you look at Deshaun Watson's resume and look at their resume, what did Marcus Mariota do or Jameis Winston do that Deshaun Watson did not do?
I understand that, but like Tim Tebow has an amazing college resume too. You never want to see him play quarterback.
Are you going to compare Tim Tebow to Deshaun Watson?
No, I don't think that's the same. That's the point. Just because the resumes may look similar doesn't mean you project them forward in a similar way. Now, I would take a shot on Deshaun Watson. That's what I'm saying. I would. I like him very much. He showed up in crunch time and played out of his mind, and his leadership abilities are great. He throws some picks, and he's not the size of a certain guy. Like, what do you want me to tell you?
Jameis Winston throws picks. I mean, but everybody calls he's a gunslinger. That's what when guys throw picks. Oh, he's just a gunslinger. Sure. He just don't keep going. I mean, that's what quarterbacks do.
Some of them
quarterbacks who take chances, they're going to throw interceptions. But I mean, like I said, I would stack his resume up against Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota anytime.
I think the Cleveland Browns have too many other things they need. I don't think Deshaun Watson, as much as I like him, is a surefire first pick in the draft, so I would not use it on him.